have set my half cylinder out there. If there are those of you who are using a towel, let's get to the value that I have to offer, and then all the chit-chat that I feel compelled to do can happen while we're doing this. Okay. Left foot, toe box at the apex of the half cylinder, foot straight, leg straight. Bring your floor foot as far forward as you can get it, and then straighten both legs externally, rotate both knees, line your ear over your shoulder, over your hip, over your knee, over your ankle, and then make sure that your palms are facing your thighs. See how you can only see my pinky fingers right now? That's because I'm internally rotated right here. What I want to be able to show you are my magnificent tops of my hands and my beautifully beaded bracelet. None of that is relevant.
You, of course.
That reminds me, I should probably mute everybody. I do enjoy your voice. All right, now that you've been in that position for a little while, can you scoot your floor foot even farther forward without hinging forward or feeling like you're going to fall? See if you can get that floor foot ahead of the half cylinder side foot. That gives you a positive stride length, so your hips are going to move, and when your hips move, your lymph moves, and when your lymph moves, your toxins move out of you, and when your hips don't move, your pelvic floor begins to weaken and deteriorate. The weight of your internal organs presses downward, can push your uterus out for uterine prolapse, can denature your prostate by rubbing against it and heating up the cells and creating disease. And you find yourself in need of adult diapers because your sphincters are too tired to hold it all in. Gloom and doom, just like the weather today. Ease off of that with your right foot. I'm just giving you all the reasons why you want to have a positive stride length. I sound like a teenage boy. Oh. Scoot your floor foot, your half cylinder to the right, and place your toe box at the apex of the half cylinder, heel all the way to the ground, and floor foot as far forward as you can get it, but don't hinge. Don't feel unstable. If you do, just drag your floor foot back so that you can be comfortably ear over shoulder, over hip, over knee, over ankle. Externally rotate your knees. Externally rotate your shoulders so your palms are facing your thighs. And please remember how important ribs down is. Get your ribs in alignment with your hip bones and you can feel your weight come into your heels. You're alleviating stress in your low back, intra-abdominal pressure, and you're taking pressure off your lungs and heart. When you're at home, you can use a mirror to see if you've got ear over shoulder, over hip, over knee, over ankle. You can even take a picture of yourself in the mirror, you know, like the young girls do with duck lips for other reasons. You can have your own reason for taking their picture in the mirror. And there are times when we are most prone to head forward. Shift your left foot forward just a little bit more if you can. When you're at the sink washing dishes, when you're looking at your phone, computer, driving. So I had a reminder from one of you gorgeous women, and nothing from the men, but you're gorgeous too, to remind people a few pointers for driving. And I'll do that in a minute. Are you externally rotating? Are your palms facing your thighs? Is your ear over your shoulder, over your hip, over your knee, over your ankle? And are your legs straight? This is not a straight leg. This is a straight leg. Ease off of that. Let your half cylinder come to the side. Take one stride forward with your right foot. Make both feet straight. I've been watching these videos as I'm trying to make them available for sale. No, for viewing. And it's embarrassing when I see my own back heel turned in. Bring all of your weight to the back heel. And with your right foot forward, bring your left arm forward and your right arm back. And now toggle forward and back. And be sure that you keep your ear over your shoulder, over your hip as you do this. We're moving lymph now in your armpits and your groin. And I want you to know something about the reciprocal arm swing. You push the forward arm back, let the back arm swing forward. Push the forward arm back, let the back arm swing forward. A little awkward to do slowly and while toggling, but when you go out there for your walk today, please walk today, please, please walk today. Get some movement in that body. The minute you stop moving, you start the dying process. Just remember to push the arm back and let it swing forward. Okay, now bring all of your weight forward, and I'm going to turn to face you to remind you that as you bring your weight forward, your back foot needs to be straight. Your knees need to be pointing the same direction as your toes, not inward like this. Correct that. And I don't want your hips doing washing machine motion. I want them doing piston motion. And keep your ear over your shoulder, over your hip, because it's very easy to get into this mode. Even when you're walking today, so easy to get your head out in front of you because we're always headed somewhere. And in our mind, we're already there. And we really get that head out in front. And if you recall, the value of not doing that is for bone density. That's at least one reason. Bring all your weight forward and stop. Bring that back heel up, roll all the way through the toe box like this. You are bending your knee. You've got your right arm out in front. And as you switch legs, switch arms. Sorry, you've got your left arm out in front. And then hip lift that heel down to the ground. And now toggle forward and back with that left foot forward. Hips shifting up and down like pistons, not pivoting like a washing machine. Ear over shoulder, over hip, over knee, over ankle. Of the foot that's farthest back when you swing back. And now bring all of your weight forward, left foot forward, right arm forward, hold. Both feet are straight, correct that back foot if it has turned in. Bring your ASIS even with each other. When you twist your hips this way, it causes the vertebrae in your low back to swivel this way. And the motion that you actually want is this kind of fluid, slinky motion in your spine. Doesn't need to be doing that so much. We'll do that with a gentle torso twist. Okay, so here we are. And now stretching across the hip flexors. Allow that back heel to come up. Roll all the way through the toe box and transfer your right foot through as you switch arms and hip lifts to the ground. Okay, let's help ourselves with the hip lift. We're not going to toggle anymore. That's just practice for when you go on your walk today. You will need your block for the hip lift. Please hydrate. This looks a little misty. Let me see if I can clean that off. Better. Standing on your block, and if you don't have a block, you can just stand on the floor. You are going to straighten the leg on the block or straighten the leg on the floor. And then push into the inner thigh of your right leg while externally rotating your right knee to sink your left heel toward the ground. So how do I demonstrate this without a block? With your right foot on the floor, you're going to lift your left foot off of the floor. Now the right hip is the one that is hip lifting. And know that you can tap down anytime you need to. You see how I did that? That's really common. Keep your arms down by your sides and tap down as you need to. If you're doing the hip lift on the block, the leg on the block is straight and the heel on the left is sinking toward the ground for you to get this hip lift motion. If you don't have the block, you're getting the hip lift motion in that direction. Okay? And if you're hip lifting and you feel really unstable on the ground, just having a finger to put on the wall is enough to help stabilize you. We need this kind of diagonal movement in our hips. It's not easy for us to accomplish because we've been sitting a lot. So we're interrupting that. We're promoting motion in our hips the way we need it. Now come tippy toe on the floor, foot side, bend the knee on the block. Just bring your left foot to the floor if you were doing this on the floor. Now place your left foot on the block, go tippy toe on the floor, foot side, and make sure your foot is straight on the left and that you externally rotate your knee. And now sink your right heel toward the ground. Good. So externally rotating your knees, it not only is good for your pelvic health because it creates the tension that's needed across the pelvic floor and then saves the sphincters from thinking it's their job to keep the internal organs in. But external rotation is also very valuable for the health of your ankles, knees, and hips. Okay, if you're on the floor and you're pressing into the left heel and balancing, press through your left inner thigh and come off of that. And those of you who are on the block, bend the knee on the block and come on down. Okay, that's really good exercise for your hips. So another thing that I wanted to remember to tell you about is that our feet were designed to walk on grass, dirt, and sand. And with all of the false flat floor that we encounter, the asphalt and the wooden floors, our heel isn't allowed to sink downward into the sand the way that it does if you look at your footprint in the sand or dirt or grass. And this is why I promote the use of negative heel shoes that can help replicate that sinking heel to allow the back line to lengthen and for you to have your hips in alignment. Unfortunately, Earth Council makes a negative heel shoe only for women. But at least a zero drop shoe is preferable to most shoes, especially running shoes, that tip you forward into your toes. And they get your alignment way out of whack, and the way that you compensate is by bending your knees and tucking your tailbone. And I don't advocate running because it's something that you do to get away from danger. It increases cortisol, it wears out your joints, and you don't need a wicked heavy cardio workout to heal your heart. And I'll explain that while we're doing something else. Let's do the monster walk. That involves no equipment, if you have no equipment, or this glorious resistance cord that you can send me an email if you want me to send to you. By the way, there's a couple of you I've sent equipment to who haven't paid for it yet. Could you please do that? And place this around your ankles. You could also order it from Spry Sports Company, and they call it an X-ring, X-E-R-I-N-G. Come to the back lower left corner of your mat. Line the left edge of your foot up on the left edge of the mat and spread your legs. Make sure both legs are straight, both feet are straight. As you bring the left foot inward to walk in this direction toward the end of the mat, Land in your heel. Keep tension on the bands. Keep your legs straight. Lift only from your ASIS out because we're wanting to support your hip tension. We're not wanting to reinforce quadratus lumborum tightness. Okay, when you get to the end of the mat, it'll tell you if your feet are straight, and go the other direction, noticing if your feet start to want to turn out, if you start to land in your toes, if your legs start to bend, and if you're lifting from the hip rather than lifting from your hip, your ASIS out. If you do all of those things, you'll lose the value of this exercise. So I will demonstrate losing the value of this exercise. Okay? Put your soul in there and heal the hip joint. Wake it up. Stabilize your hips from all that sitting you've been doing. Bless your sweet feet by not landing in your toes and building bone in your toes. But one more pass. Every time you land in your heel, you build bone in your entire skeleton. Stimulate your entire skeleton. Land in your heel. As long as I'm on a roll with don't do things that people love to do, bike riding and running. Did you know that icing is terrible and you should never do it when you're injured? Icing slows down the healing process. Buy my book, I explain it all in there. Toss the half cylinder, no, toss the monster strap aside. And now let's address some stuff going on in the upper body. With your feet straight and hips width apart, go ahead and knock your knees in toward each other so you can create contrast. Now straighten your legs and now dial your knees to face the same direction as your feet. Rotate in and out. Roll your knees in, roll them out. Notice that your arches are very much a part of your external rotation process. Use support from your arches all the way to your pelvic floor when you externally rotate. Okay, now leave your feet externally rotated. Relax your toes. Spread your toes. Give them some space. We all need to have much more mobility in our toes and space between them. Bring your arms out to the side. You've got this lovely foundation here. Feet straight, hips width apart, legs straight. And the hips width is from the ASIS, these bones on the front of you, right straight down to the center of your feet. And with your hands out to the side, create contrast by bringing your elbows all the way in, and then begin pushing them away from you, and feel the action that happens in your upper arms as you push your arms away from you. You begin to feel muscles in your back, behind your shoulder blades. Now pour out behind you the rain that you caught in your palms. Pour it out down your thumbs and keep your hands in line with your forearms. And notice if you have a tendency to help out your arms by going, now guess where the weight is? Toes. Guess where the pressure is? Low back, heart, and lungs. Bring your weight into your heels. Untuck your tailbone. Lower your ribs. And now, see if you can get your elbows in front of your wrist. Look out of the corner of your eye. Begin to press your hands away, away, away from you. And bring your hands down by your side. Ooh, that felt really good. All right, I think I hit the highlights that I meant to today. I would like for us to do a good amount of torso twisting today. We want to be able to move the torso in a way that doesn't often get this kind of motion, but you'll hear this story from people how they hurt their back because they were reaching into their car, lifting something heavy, and then turning to get it out of the car. So we want you to have the ability to move through your torso without engaging your back as a spasmodic protector. First, more water. Then we're going down to the ground and lying on our back. This is a better perspective. Good. On your back, with your right leg straight, bring your left foot to the floor. Then reach across with your right hand and nab the outside of your left knee. And then roll toward the right until your left knee is on the ground. Okay? I'm going to turn my body around so I can show you what I often hear from people. I say, put your left knee on the ground, and they're like that. No, really, put your left knee on the ground, and they're like that. What I mean is really put your left knee on the ground. This shoulder won't be on the floor. That's usually what you're trying to do, is get this shoulder on the floor. So now that you have your left knee on the ground and you're holding it there with your right hand, bring your left arm bent at a right angle out to the left. And now turn to look at your left hand and imagine that you have a heavy stone in your left hand. And if you are not feeling a torso twist from this, you're not doing it right. Relax both buttocks. Let go. Soften and melt and sink. If your left elbow is coming down toward your ribs, please shift it upward. Forearm is parallel to the floor, but you'll miss the value if you keep tightening that area where your shoulder meets your torso downward. Keep shifting your elbows slightly up and feel the interruption of the pattern of holding the front of your armpit. Take a nice deep breath and let go again. Stay with your body. If your mind wanders, bring it back to your hips, your ribs, your armpits, your elbows, your fingers on the left. Even the piriformis in your left buttocks. And now begin to bring your left elbow down towards your ribs. And then your arm straightens past your left hip. and then comes around past your ear. Then your palm faces the ceiling again, and you bring your arm back and around past your hip. Keep making these range of motion windmills while staying very tuned in. Don't skip past the places where you feel the most sensation. The only way to heal is to feel. If you can't feel it, your attention won't go there. You won't be able to soften there. And we are magnificent in our ability to not feel, for our fascia to create tourniquets around painful places. And I want you to know that you are welcome to let the emotion free as you find the places where you are exhausted or where you haven't visited in your body in a long time. And you find out that you've been being very stoic, very responsible, very bombarded with outside stimuli that's trying to frighten you. And on this last pass, just rest your left hand on your left hip. Let go with your right hand. Extend your left leg out in front of you. And then turn it off. You're just going to pull with your left fingers to invite your left hip back onto the ground and drag that dead weight leg all the way back to the floor. Time for the other side. You don't have to get up and turn. I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes. Lying on your back. Your left leg now is straight and your right foot is on the floor. Reach across with your left hand and nab the outside of your right knee. And then roll to the left until your right knee touches the floor. Keep it touching the floor. That's the important anchor point. The most important thing, more than what you're doing over here with your right arm. However, this is important. So bend your right arm at a right angle at the elbow. Don't keep your elbow down here by your ribs. Let it shift upward so it's coming straight out from your torso. And then turn and look at your right palm as gravity assists you. And the weight of your arm sinks toward the floor. I let go, 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 I let go. The bottom left leg you don't have to worry about. It's kind of bent, kind of just lazing along the floor. But feel the stretch through your right buttocks, into your transverse abdominals, up through your ribs, into your armpits, over to your elbow, up your forearm into the palm of your hand. Right now we are easing pressure on your heart and lungs by opening your fascial fishnet in this way. When we come out of this, there's a huge from your whole body that pulls blood from your heart so your heart doesn't have to pound so hard to push it into a tight fascial. And when we play in fascia land, we take our time. Rushing it can engage that 2,000 pounds of tensile resistance, which we do not need. We have that most of the time. Take one more deep breath and just interrupt all the panic and soften all the way down to your creamy center. Now we're ready to bring our right elbow down toward our right hip. And then your arm straightens past your hip, palm down. And then it comes up over your head, past your ear. And this is where you begin to notice, hoo-wee, I have some fascial restriction in my shoulder. Then your palm faces the ceiling again as you go slowly down towards your hip with your right arm. And palm down. Arm up toward your head and past your ear. Palm up. And there is no wrong. Your body's tight because it's been supporting you and doing what you always asked it to do. And now we're asking it to do differently. And we're finding out how much stagnation there is and what areas have been trying to turn to bone so we don't have to move from a seated position at a computer or working on our phone. This is the last pass. And as you bring your arms slowly at your pace around and down toward your right hip, land your hand on your hip and crook your fingers around your hip. Let go with your left hand and straighten your right leg, right straight out in front of you. And turn it off, let it be dead weight as you pull with your right hand and drag your right leg back to the floor. Okay. Now, I want to come to sitting because I want to demonstrate some things you can do when you're driving to drive in alignment. I'm going to use my half cylinder to demonstrate. If you don't have one, that's okay. Just sit on the ground with your feet wider than hips width. I'm placing the round side down and getting up onto the half cylinder. And then I'm pretending that my sits bones are switchblades that are going down into the half cylinder to nail it where it is. Okay? Now, in this position, place your hands on your shins. And let's find the difference between a tucked tailbone, you see how the half cylinder rolls back, and an untucked tailbone, rolling that cylinder straight so that this flat part is straight. Back and straight. Back and straight. So when I first learned this from my mentor, Katie Bowman, she used to call this the click clack. Because when you do it on the floor without the half cylinder, you feel these fascial ridges go ka-dink, ka-dunk on your sits bones. So if you're doing this on the floor, you might feel that. So when you're sitting in the car, I want you to imagine you're rolling up onto your sits bones. Find your sits bones. Believe it or not, many car seats are designed around the way people usually sit, which is like that. Hence the term bucket seat. Well, I say, suck it. to the bucket seat. Roll up onto your sits bones and allow yourself to be in alignment when you're driving. Some people like to bring their half cylinder, they own more than one, into the car and sit on that, or they like to put the half cylinder in the low back when they're driving. So back up onto your sits bones, and I'll do that now with you for those of you who do not have half cylinder. When you're driving, how often do you drive with your elbows out? Like that. What if it's a simple matter of rolling up onto your sits bones and then dialing your elbow pit to face the ceiling of your car? You could do that with both of them at 10 and 2. From this to this. Some of us drive with maybe 2 fingers on the steering wheel, elbow out the window. I want you to be consciously aware when you are driving of what you can do on a daily basis to counteract the negative effects of gravity winning. Okay, that should be helpful. Let's check the time and get some water. Oh, we're doing great. We get to do more torso twists now. So we're going to do something called the Crescent. And what it's going to look like is, I'll do this sideways. You're going to be twisting your feet one direction and your arms the same direction. And we're going to be opening up the side of your body. So lie on your back and cross your right ankle. Let's get this a little more. Right ankle over your left ankle. And now scoot your left heel to the left. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, like that. Okay? And you can feel it open up along the hip area. Now let's add the arms. You're going to reach up over your head, and your left hand is going to grab your right wrist. Then lie those arms on the floor and pull with your left hand to open up your right armpit. Now you're in this crescent moon shape toward the left. Talk your right elbow down to the ground. Keep pulling, opening. And if you get more room in your body, see if you can scoot your left heel a little further to the left. If I was with you, you know I would come by and I would help by lifting your feet and scooting them a little further to the left for you. But alas, I cannot be with you right now. And I do miss touching people. Imagine that your transverse abdominal on the right between your hip and rib is yawning. And give it a lovely stretch, stretch, stretch before we come out of this. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, this is so wonderful. Through the armpit, through your psoas. Oh, okay. Ease the holds that you have with your left hand. Let go. And you can bring your right arm down, left arm down. You can bend your right knee to come off of your left ankle. And now cross your left ankle over your right heel and bounce those heels over to the right. Ooh. And grab your left wrist with your right hand. Stretch them out above your head and pull with your right hand and stretch into the left side of your body. This lovely crescent stretch. It is so much more valuable to open your fishnet and draw blood out of your heart than it is for you to ramp up the beating of your heart as it's working hard against a tight fascial system. So what I would encourage, because people are wondering, well, if you don't want us to run, then what do we do? If you walk in proper alignment, you will get out of breath, pushing the ground behind you with your buttocks, hamstrings, and calves. And if you do that for 15 minutes and get your heart rate up, when you stop, you have cardio benefit for 20 minutes afterwards. If you do it for another 15 minutes, you get another 20 minutes of benefit afterwards. So if you do 3 bouts of 15 minutes, you end up having 60 minutes of cardio benefit that extends beyond when you stopped walking. Different from going to some heavy aerobics class, stressing out your heart, producing more cortisol, and still only getting 20 minutes of cardio benefit after the end of it. Okay, now soften everything and sink. No effort. Melting. Sinking. Giving up. Fight. Get lost inside you. Enjoy the environment everywhere in your body. Any places that you feel angry about, send it love. Let your right palm open. Let your body know that you appreciate everything that it's done and that you're not mad at it. And let's do a number 4 stretch. So take your left foot off of your right ankle and bring your left foot to the floor. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Now make sure your left knee isn't rolling inward or outward. Keep your left heel in line with your left sits bone. And in this position, just roll your tailbone toward the floor and push your right knee away from you. You should get a lot of sensation around your hip joint. Let go some more, push that knee away. Roll your tailbone down. It has a tendency to want to roll up to the sky. Okay, so I'm going to turn a little bit so you can see why we call this the number 4 stretch, because it looks like a fancy number 4. But what you're going to do is you're going to reach through with your hands and clasp them behind your left hamstring. Bring your head back down to the floor, and then roll your tailbone away. Push your right knee away, and even up the pressure on your sacrum. Make sure you're not tilting too much one direction or the other with your hips. And feel the stretch that's coming into your shoulders. Chin down, ribs down, tailbone down. Press that right knee away from you, and you should feel, again, a stretch through your piriformis of the right leg and down your iliotibial band into your tensor fascia lata. Who cares what it is? It's just good. And we are clearing pathways for circulation of blood, lymph, and lymph. I enjoy twirling my ankles in this position. My chin was shooting up toward the sky. Remind your chin to come down and elongate through the back of your neck. Ah. 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 Unclasp your fingers. Let your left foot come back down to the floor. And now reach up with your left hand and grab your right ankle. Keep everything just the way that it is. Just tip over to the left. People often ask, what is my left leg supposed to do? Nothing. It's just laying on the floor. Now bring your right arm bent at a right angle out along the floor and push your right knee away from you. And imagine that you're dragging your right hip back to the floor on the right. You won't be able to, but you get the idea of the oppositional stretch. Pressing your right knee away. Turn and look at your right hand with your eyes. Eye movement is very closely related with headaches. We want to have full range of eye movement every day. So let yourself play with crazy eyes. Loosen up and strengthen those muscles. Loosen and strengthen. Take a deep breath and push that right knee away some more. Now let go with your left hand and scoot the fingers of your left hand under the arch of your right foot and press upward and bring your right foot down to the floor. And now cross your left ankle over your right thigh, making sure that your right heel is in line with your right hip bone and your right knee isn't leaning out or in. And then press your left knee away from you, rolling your tailbone down, ribs down, chin down. If this feels effortful, see if you can tune in to the web that connects you and let it widen and soften. When that web gets tight, the intention is for it to be springy. so that you can respond to danger. The tightening of your fascial fishnet happens through the autonomic nervous system. It is meant to be temporary. Static squeezing of your blood vessels without let up causes them to atrophy and withdraw. Intermittent squeezing stimulates further growth of blood vessels into the distant areas of your body where blood is required. From that intermittent squeezing, it creates vasodilation. So even though it can feel like a foot that's gone to sleep, as it wakes up, it feels pins and needles and sharp. It's so much better to wake up your nether regions down in between your toes than to let it fall asleep and stagnate. Okay, lift your right foot off the floor, reach down, clasp your fingers behind your right hamstring, lay your head back down, and then roll your hips away from you. Wow. As you press your left knee away from you, chin down. Rolling your ankles can be a lot of fun here. Ah. Stretch those arms and let those fingers come apart. Reach up with your right hand, grab your right ankle, tilt to the right, and let the bottom of your left foot touch the floor. Keep holding your ankle, and bring your left arm back along the floor, bent at a right angle with the elbow, and look at your fingers with your eyes. Press your left hip back toward the floor. Oh boy. Oh. So I just want you to know how committed I am to delivering this to you, in spite of the fact that life conspires to put a lot of roadblocks in my way. I feel like I'm in one of those obstacle courses they have on TV where you have to jump over water and land on a spinning wheel and swing on a trapeze and shimmy up a pole. I'm so ready to let it go out of my butt and my shoulders and my throat and the 11 marks between my eyebrows. And definitely into my psoas. For any of you interested in paying for a class, after this, when we do the more advanced class, I'm going to do some psoas work. So if you have the equipment and you wish to join, it's really incredibly important right now. that we are able to interrupt the clench in our gut from the fear we're experiencing. And you have a lot more to say about how it manifests in your body and clearing it out than you might have been led to believe. Okay. Let go with your right hand. Slip the fingers of your right hand underneath the arch of your left foot. Press the whole thing up. Dismount that left foot to the floor and roll onto your stomach. See if you can feel your belly on the floor. And begin to shift your hips however you wish, whether it's a hip lift or a wobble side to side. Just begin to move your hips, and I want you to tune into the areas on either side of your belly button. Notice if they're stiff and sore as they press against the floor. And begin to allow yourself permission to squirm from there. This is like a nest of snakes, the place that we protect first and foremost when we're scared. Where your psoas, your fight or flight muscles live, and they desire interruption of clench, restoration of circulation, elongation of your fascial web. And from here, begin to come to all fours. And allow that movement to continue. Let it be guided from your body, not from your mind. And let your body do weird things that it wants to do to expand into this cocoon and beyond. And allow yourself this pandiculation time into the corners of your hips and your shoulders. Because when you do this, it's better than 5 of anything I can do to you or show you how to do. It's you tuned into your body and letting it lead the way and taking the brakes off of being dignified and appropriate. And it helps you find sweet, sweet corners that just love what you're doing and can deliver to you the most delicious feeling. So different than the shut down numb that we're so used to. Revitalize your tissues by letting go with your mind. Ah, my gosh, that feels so good. And if there's voice with it, let the voice come out too. I sure did yesterday. Turn your toes under. Sink your sit bones towards your heels. Place your hands on the floor in front of your knees and roll up onto your toes. Straighten your legs. Feet straight. Hips width apart. Legs straight. And then bring your hands to your hips and come up flat back. That was wonderful.